war never changes. Excuse me, sir. Sorry, I'm really not trying to make a crossover. I know that I am a Mortal Kombat character, and I apologize for this, but I just want to say, war definitely does change. I really don't understand why people be saying that shit. That shit is stupid, because like, you can have a war that is basically and primarily fought on the water, but then sometimes you have a war where you use drones, and then sometimes there's biochemical warfare as well. Niggas be throwing gas and shit. I'm just saying, niggas be putting poison in people's foods. I'm just saying, I'm just saying, war does change.
Look, man, who told you to interrupt my motherfucking story? You know what? Let me calm down. First off, let me not trip on him, because first off, he's one of the ugliest niggas I ever seen in my life. Okay, that's besides the point. You know what I'm saying? Shout out my nigga Dashy. I don't know how he put up with him for all them years. I'm just saying, like, if I had to look at you every day, there wouldn't be an every day. I would have killed myself the first day. I'm just saying. Sorry that I was rudely interrupted. Like I was saying, a war never changes, but I mean, at this point, I mean, there's no point in even doing the introduction anymore. Let's just get into the video. This is the entire story of Fallout. This nigga Baraka got me high. Yep, it's finally time to talk about the Fallout lore. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is gonna be a pretty detailed, intensive video. Okay, there's a lot of moving parts and things that didn't really make sense to me at first, but now they do. I'll be honest, every time I play video games, I never pay attention to the lore at all. I kind of just play the game. Next thing you know, I'm literally walking around town with power armor, a Gatling gun, and then for some reason I can switch weapons and I can pull this cannon out that shoots mini nukes. And you know, honestly, I took a step back the first time I found this gun in a Fallout game, because hey, yo, why is the name Fat Man? Pause. But also, I mean, where did I pull this from? Like, do y'all ever question game physics? Because how the fuck did I fit this in my back pocket? Where did I pull this gun from? Anyways, I digress. Our story starts with the divergence. War never changes. That's the opening line of every Fallout game, and it's basically the whole entire thesis of the lore. I mean, the war never changes, even though, as I said in the beginning, war literally does change. I mean, it changes with the times, the way you do war. I mean, I guess the whole premise of war doesn't change, but I still think it's kind of a stupid thing to say. But you know what, maybe I'm tripping. Anyways, October 23rd, 2077. This is the day that the Earth gets reduced to cinders in a few hours. But to understand how we get there, you have to go back all the way to 1945. This is the time when men regularly beat women, and for some reason the world was okay with it. No, I mean seriously, like it's really disgusting. Like, women couldn't even go outside and be humans. A motherfucker might backtalk their husband and get slapped in the mouth anywhere. Why was that normal? I heard a rumor that Chris Brown had a time machine, and for some reason it was set to June 3rd, 1990. I want you guys, after the video's over, to go look up when did Congress pass the 19th Amendment so women could vote. Anyways, we're in 1945, but Fallout takes place in a completely separate timeline from ours. It has the same exact history, and the world is basically the exact same up until the end of World War II. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945 still happen, but that is the split point. Fallout calls this the divergence. From 1945 onwards, everything goes differently. The first big difference is the transistor. In our world, the transistor was invented in 1947, and it changed everything. Smaller computers, smaller electronics, miniaturization in its entirety. Niggas had the Game Boy. All right, I'm just saying, like, literally, like, before niggas was walking around and computers were like big screen TVs and shit. Like you couldn't even have a computer that made sense. I don't understand at any point why anyone would want to go back to that era. Like, why would you want to have fat ass computers? Imagine trying to write an essay for a class on this fat ass computer with a big ass back like that. It looked like there could have been a car engine in there, and it also sounds like there is a car engine in there. I'm just saying. Anyways, in the Fallout timeline, the transistor never got popularized. Vacuum tubes stay the dominant technology all the way into the 21st century. This one change had an entire knock-on effect of society. Everything stays big, bulky, basically needing all types of resources to even exist. Computers are the size of rooms. There's robots that look like 1950s toy robots, cars shaped like old Cadillacs. The whole world basically got frozen in a retro 1950s atomic age aesthetic. Even while the calendar says 2077, yeah, that's right, it's 2077, and the fucking cars have the bubble backs on them. built like your mom. But I'm just saying, there's fusion power cars, domestic robots in every home, fucking wrist worn computers. These are called Pit Boys, okay? Now the Pit Boys are very important to the story, obviously. But there's medical breakthroughs, there's advanced weaponry, but all with this chunky retro look. Like, bro, how do we have all of this futuristic stuff, but we still got fat ass computers? Anyways, it's a world that looked at an atom and said, you know what? This is going to make life better. And for a while, it seemed that was the case. Now, the Cold War continued in Fallout, but there's some key differences. The Soviet Union never collapsed in 1991 like in our world. And by the 21st century, US-Soviet relations had actually warmed. It's basically neutral, and sometimes it seemed friendly. But the new enemy is China. Wow, China was the enemy all along. China in Fallout never did the capitalist economic reforms of Deng Xiaoping. I'll be honest, when doing research on this, I honestly do not know if I'm pronouncing that nigga's name right. I'm gonna be real with you. I barely read at a second grade level, so this is tough for me. Anyways, they stay hardline communist all the way through. Very strict government, strict economy, strict society in general. Now China overtakes the USSR as America's #1 enemy, the new Red Menace. That sounds like a superhero, man. Oh, look up, it's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's Superman. But we're in China, so it's called the Red Menace. Anyways, politically, the US does something unusual. In 1969, it reorganizes 50 states into 13 commonwealths, grouping states together into mid-level administrative regions between state and federal government. California gets split into 2. The US flag gets redesigned to show 13 stars instead of 50. Now, Europe goes the other direction and merges. All of Europe combines into one political superstate called the European Commonwealth. Not just an economic union, but an actual unified sovereign government. So by the early 21st century, the world looked like this. Incredible retro-futuristic technology that's somehow powered by nuclear energy, crazy, fusion cars on the roads, robots doing housework, a general sense of prosperity. The Cold War is winding down, science and medicine advances, everything seems fine. And then the Fire Nation attacked. All right, I'm sorry, I had to do it. But anyways, there's a resource crisis. Dun 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 dun. By 2050, the world starts running out of resources it needs to function. Petroleum and uranium, they're both critically short. This is especially bad in the Fallout timeline because everything runs on nuclear energy. Reactors need uranium to operate, and without it, they start closing. Gas prices skyrocket, energy markets crash, the economy starts suffering. The United States government responds aggressively. They see the resource shortage as a threat to the position as a world power, and Washington is being influenced by a mega corporation called Poseidon Energy, which is a big business with governments in their pocket. In 2051, the US imposes economic sanctions on Mexico. The main reason was political instability in Mexico makes it necessary. I'll be honest with you, if some guys came around telling me that for some reason, I'm gonna be real, if some big government came around telling me that they're about to put sanctions on us because of political instability, I would crash. Kind of like their economy. But okay, that was garbage, my fault. But the real reason was they're trying to protect American oil interests in big business. Later in that same year, the US military actually invades Mexico to occupy the country. The goal is to ensure American oil keeps flowing north across the border. This doesn't really solve the problem though. The shortages keep getting worse. And by 2052, a TV documentary airs in America showing the dried up husk of Texas oil fields. The average Americans see it and they panic. The energy crisis is now a public reality. It's not just a government problem. Protests break out all over the country over gas and energy prices. And some protests turn into full riots. People fighting for control of the last operational power plants. And this is just the beginning. At this point in the story, we're at the Resource Wars, April 2052. The European Commonwealth declares war on the Middle East. They want the Middle East's remaining oil stocks. This is the start of what history will call the Resource Wars, a conflict that will engulf the planet for the next 25 years. The United Nations tries to mediate a peaceful resolution and completely fails. Member states start withdrawing from the UN in droves, so the UN officially disbands on July 26, 2052. The world's peacekeeping body is gone. And without any international organization keeping things in check, things escalate very quickly. The European Middle Eastern War drags on for 2 years after this, both sides straining. Their resources and manpower are at a breaking point. And in December 2053, a nuclear weapon is detonated in Tel Aviv. The city is destroyed. And in response, the European Commonwealth conducts a limited nuclear exchange with the Middle East in January 2054. By the end of that war in 2054, both sides are absolutely wrecked. The Middle East has burnt through all of its remaining oil reserves fighting the war. The thing they were fighting over is gone. The European Commonwealth, now deprived of the oil it needed, collapses as a unified state. It falls apart into individual warring nation states, all competing for whatever resources are left. Europe is now just as chaotic as everywhere else. So at this point, we realize that the Middle East and Europe Commonwealth, they basically have been fighting for oil, but they were using a lot of oil while they were fighting. So they were fighting over the thing that they needed while using the thing that they needed. It's really stupid, bro. It's like fighting over water, but you had to hydrate yourself the entire time. So for 2 years, you're just consuming all the rest of the water you had. By the time you're done fighting, nigga, what were we fighting for? Motherfucking oil going. Now, I don't understand if they had all of these technological and scientific advances, why there weren't scientists trying to figure out different renewable energy sources, bro. I don't be understanding that. That should be pissing me off. Like even now, we be using fossil fuels. I'm like, bro, nigga, somebody figure some shit out, bro. You know what I'm saying? Niggas is making turbines using wind energy, solar energy, and for some reason we over here trying to, instead of advancing that, we fighting over fucking fossil fuels. Now they got a war in the Middle East and shit going on with goddamn Palestine and all that going on, and Iran and all that shit. Motherfucking gas prices high as a bitch. And it's like, yeah, you know, that sound like some first world problems, okay? High gas prices while there's people over there dying. That's not what I'm saying. Obviously, I am very, very empathetic to what's going on. But I'm just saying, though, that with the way the world is going right now, this video is hitting very close to home for me. Because nigga, what the fuck is niggas doing? I could get into a lot of shit right now, but I'm not, because a certain person, and by person I mean an entity, and by entity I mean a certain place, they get to hearing you speak out against certain things, and then next thing you know, boom, your shit going. And you know what? I ain't even about to risk it. But if you know, you know. That's all I'm saying. Now at this point, there's growing tensions and a new plague. On top of the resource crisis in 2053, we see the emergence of a deadly viral pathogen called the new plague. Oh my God, it's COVID. It kills tens of thousands of people. Nobody knows where it came from. Yo, killing tens of thousands of people is not that bad. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? Like tens of thousands of people, COVID killed millions. I'm just saying. Anyways, American and Chinese governments both start looking at each other with even more suspicion. They each want to maintain dominance as a global superpower in an increasingly chaotic world. China is heavily dependent on fossil fuels. Its markets are in steep decline from the resource shortage. The Chinese government starts looking for ways to get more oil, by force if necessary. They look north to the Trans-Alaska Pipeline in Anchorage, Alaska, still operational and still producing oil. China asked the United States for permission to drill in Anchorage. The US by the early 2060s has cut off all talks of exporting their oil supply. Every drop of domestic resources being kept for American use. China's request is flatly refused. This is not good. I'm just saying, you start refusing things to China, next thing you know, no imports, bro. Tariffs is crazy, you know what I'm saying? Everything's expensive, you know what I'm saying? Like China be holding on to everything. And it's crazy that niggas be using Chinese labor to make things for their businesses, bro. Y'all niggas got niggas over there in sweatshops and shit. Be pissing me off, man. It be having me hot. Like, I'm just saying, bro. I try not to be, you know what I mean, on that too much, but like, I'm just saying. In December 2026, the Chinese People's Liberation Army invades Anchorage, Alaska, led by General Wang Jingwei. This marks the start of the Anchorage campaign in the Sino-American War. Sino-American War? Wait a minute, nigga. Nigga, this is Pokemon, cuz? Let me find out they got Gen 4 in this bitch. All right, my fault. I'm just saying. Wait, is Sino Gen 4? You know what? I might be wrong, but I think I'm right, but I might be wrong. I just let me know in the comment section, because I could be tripping. American forces mobilized under General Constantine on the Anchorage front line. A series of defensive fortifications that had been built up since 2059, specifically in anticipation of this attack. But the Chinese army is massive, and the American forces start to strain under the assault. The US response is to introduce new technology, the T-45D power armor. First specialized heavy infantry units ever deployed in powered armored suits. These units prove effective against Chinese tanks and artillery. Power armored infantry can take hits that would kill normal soldiers and keep fighting. They start gaining back lost ground. But the campaign still grinds down into a stalemate. Trench warfare in the brutal Alaskan winter, both sides dug in, but neither could advance. The US faced a logistical problem though, Canada. To reinforce the Anchorage front, American troops need to move through Canada. The US puts enormous pressure on the Canadian government. Canada reluctantly agrees to allow American military forces through their territory, but the American military presence quickly turns into something that feels more like an occupation. The US starts exploiting Canada's own resources for the war effort. They destroy large sections of the Canadian interior timberland. They confiscate Canadian oil reserves, and in turn Canadians start protesting, but niggas just ignoring them. American kind of treats Canada like little America, like little bro, you feel me? Like, hey yo, we need some of y'all resources, so we just gonna take them. And then niggas is like, well, actually, can you not? And they're like, oh, you be alright, little bruh. You feel me? Like, that's disrespectful. Me personally, bro, I'm not going for that. If I was Canada, niggas would have had to see me, bro. You know what I'm saying? Bag milk and all that. All right, my fault. I know that y'all don't all drink bag milk. Anyways, the protests basically start escalating, right? And they become open riots against US troops. And American forces respond with a full military occupation. They start taking over Canadian cities. They're fighting an insurrection at this point. Like, what is going on? The occupation eventually leads to Canada's complete annexation by the United States in 2076. Canada ceases to exist as a country, absorbed into America. Back in Alaska, the stalemate holds through the late 2060s and early 2070s. 2074, the US opens new fronts. The American forces began offensive operations against mainland China itself, now fighting on 3 fronts simultaneously: Alaska, Canada, and China. Major campaigns launched along the Yangtze River and the Gobi Desert. They're extremely difficult to maintain supply lines across the Pacific. The Gobi and Yangtze campaigns produced enormous casualties on both sides, and by 2075, the Sino-American War is also at stalemate on the Chinese front, neither side willing to back down. Both nations pour billions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of lives into the conflict. On the home front, the US government becomes paranoid about Chinese espionage, and they order forced relocation of all Chinese American citizens to internment camps. This is a dark callback to what happened to Japanese Americans in World War II. Both nations start developing new experimental weapons, hoping to find an edge. By 2076, the war is a full decade old and going nowhere, and the Anchorage campaign is still at a stalemate. The Chinese offensive is also going nowhere. Then the Americans introduced the T-51B power armor. Do you need to do a whopping on someone in China? Maybe kill one of them by stepping on their head and squishing their brains into the ground. Well, you're gonna need the T-150B power armor, brought to you by Poseidon Energy.
Poseidon Energy is not liable for anything that happens, including squishing brains into the ground, breaking rib cages, spontaneous combustion, rectal bleeding, being way too cool in armor and getting all the pussy, or causing melephysioma. Batteries not included.
Now, this new armor is state-of-the-art. It's far more advanced than the T-45D. The power armored infantry in the T-51B tips the balance in Alaska dramatically. Chinese forces suddenly can't stop them. The Chinese army goes from holding the line to full retreat. Supply line collapse. Desperate rallying fails. And January 10th, 2077, the Anchorage campaign ends in complete American victory. General Janeway is killed in action. General Chase declares total victory, and Alaska is liberated. But the war as a whole is far from over. Canadian resistance to American occupation is intensifying. Food and energy riots are breaking out inside the United States itself. American forces in mainland China are still nowhere near forcing a Chinese surrender. The Chinese have millions of able-bodied troops left to call on. Every push deeper into China just generates more resistance and more casualties. Both sides are starting to seriously contemplate nuclear weapons as the only way to end it. By summer 2077, nuclear war looks essentially inevitable. The president and senior US government leadership quietly relocate to an offshore oil rig in the Pacific behind the California coast, leaving the American war effort functionally leaderless. China is back completely against the wall. Their leaders make the decision they had been dreading. On October 23, 2077, they fire their nuclear weapons. It's a Saturday, 12:03 a.m. Eastern. Unknown submersibles spotted off the California coast by the U.S. Pacific Fleet. By 3:37 a.m., a squadron of high-altitude bombers reported to be Chinese detected flying over the Bering Strait. Meanwhile, on the East Coast, Chinese stealth submarines, including the Yangtze, are quietly moving into striking range of American cities. By 9:13 a.m., the U.S. Integrated Operational Nuclear Detection System detects 4 missile launches. United States goes DEFCON 2. 4 minutes later, NORAD confirms the launches. Judgment Day has arrived. 9:26 a.m., a.m., the President of the United States, safe on the enclave's offshore oil rig in the Pacific, orders a retaliatory strike against China. Scenario MXCN91. 9:42. Chinese nuclear missiles hit New York City and Philadelphia, immediately followed by strikes on the West Coast. Within minutes of the first strikes, missiles are flying in all directions. The Chinese nuclear submarine Shihang-Ti had been given specific orders to destroy the U.S. FEV research facility. It fires this nuclear payload at the West Tech research facility outside San Diego. It's a direct hit. The attack of the facility causes the FEV containment tanks to explode. The FEV gets launched into the atmosphere along with the nuclear fallout that is released into the wild. Nobody on the submarine knows they just doomed millions of living things to mutation. 9:47 a.m. Bombs hit Washington, D.C. and Boston. American facilities start going offline. The nuclear exchange continues for 2 hours. The U.S. and China pound each other with everything they have. Hey, yo. Other nuclear armies nations join in, fulfilling the doctrine of mutually assured destruction. Then silence. The Great War lasted a few hours and ended civilization. The vault doors had opened when the sirens started wailing. Some vaults were forced to seal their doors against panicking crowds who weren't on the residency list. Some vaults weren't even filled to capacity. Months of air raid drills had caused the cry wolf effect. Some people just didn't run to the shelters in time, thinking it was another drill. One special case worth mentioning, Las Vegas. American billionaire Robert Edwin House, founder of Rob Koch Industries, had been preparing for this. He had hacked the disarm codes for many of the Chinese warheads heading for Las Vegas. He had also armed his Lucky 38 casino with precision laser defenses. He used both to disarm or prematurely detonate many of the incoming warheads. He still couldn't get them all. He only saved a fraction of Las Vegas before being knocked unconscious by the remaining detonations, but it was enough. Las Vegas would survive more intact than almost anywhere else in America. The results were catastrophic for the entire planet. The ecosystem permanently damaged. Chinese and American biochemical weapons had been used throughout the war. Their release into the atmosphere made the fallout even more toxic. The FEV release from the West Tech caused rapid mutation across the West Coast. Animals and plants began transforming into these monstrous creatures. For humans who couldn't even reach a vault or shelter, the extreme radiation combined in some cases with airborne FEV caused them to mutate into ghouls. Flesh decayed and rotted. Their hair fell out. They even had zombie-like appearance. But ghouls also get a prolonged lifespan and resistance to background radiation. Their minds can remain sharp, or in extreme cases of radiation, rot away into feral savagery. For those safe in the vaults, 25 years of waiting. For everyone else, immediate struggle for survival in a dead world. We have now reached the part of the story where we talk about the vaults. The vaults didn't just appear overnight. They were the result of years of planning. In 2054, the U.S. government authorizes Project Safehouse. It's a massive national defense program to build fallout shelters in case of nuclear war. It's overseen by Vault Tech Corporation, a government-owned company based in Los Angeles. Vault Tech ran a demonstration vault to win public interest in the government contracting bid. Construction began in the early 2060s and continued right up until the Great War in 2077. It's built at pre-selected locations, usually geologically stable areas like mountain ranges. A few were built under the foundations of cities. Each vault sealed with a massive blast door and airlock. Nuclear reactors provided by General Atomics powered the underground shelters. Air filtration systems kept the air breathable. Hydro-agricultural farms and food synthesizers fed the population. Water purification systems kept drinking water clean and sustainable. Each vault designed to sustain 500 residents comfortably, or up to 1,000 with hot bunking. It's designed to last roughly 25 years before opening. Some vaults were equipped with a Garden of Eden creation kit, developed by scientist Dr. Stanislas Braun, advertised as a miracle terraforming toolkit, seed and soil supplements, a fusion power generator, matter energy replicators, atmospheric chemical stabilizers, and water purifiers. The idea, after 25 years, the radiation would have calmed enough for vault residents to leave, use the GEC to restore the land, and start rebuilding civilization. But here's the problem: funding. The US government in the 2060s was broke from years of resource wars. They could only fund the vaults through junk bonds. Even with desperate financial measures, only 122 vaults ever got commissioned. 122 vaults, maximum of 1,000 people each, that's 122,000 Americans saved. Out of a population of hundreds of millions, that's less than 0.01%. The cost per vault was staggering. hundreds of billions of dollars each, often going over budget. And much of the project's safehouse was classified under national defense, protected by the new amended Espionage Act. This allowed big businesses to piggyback off of Vault-Tec and corrupt the program for their own purposes. Now here's the real dirty secret about the vaults. Of the 122 vaults, only 17 were genuine shelters, called controlled vaults. The other 105 were social experiments. Vault-Tec designed an overall program called the Societal Preservation Program. Each experimental vault was given a specific scenario to test its inhabitants. Each vault had an overseer who was briefed on their vault's specific experiment. Basically, there was a guy in charge who was supposed to keep the vaults under control. Unfortunately, this didn't always work. Some overseers were, kind of assholes. And I don't mean like the type of asshole to just do some asshole shit sometimes. Like, I mean, whenever you have a certain group of people and then all of a sudden you become the, I guess you could say, the ruler of all of these people, it can go to people's heads, you know, they can start becoming someone or something that they normally wouldn't be. Anyway, these control vaults included Vault 3 in Las Vegas, Vault 8 in Western Nevada, Vault 13 under Mount Whitney, and Vault 76 in West Virginia. Control vaults would open after 25 years and let residents rebuild. The experimental vaults were something else entirely. Vault 12 in Bakersfield, California, the blast door was designed not to seal properly, flooding residents with radiation. Vault 15 in Southern California was packed with the most ethnically and religiously diverse population possible, forcing very different people to live together in tight confinement. Vault 21 in Las Vegas, all conflicts between the residents resolved exclusively through gambling and games of chance. Vault 69, 999 women and 1 man. That one's kind of funny though, I'm not gonna lie. I remember playing the game and seeing that and I was like, bro, on one hand, that sounds terrible, but on the other hand, I'm just saying, not that bad. I'm just saying. Of course, that's the freaky frog side of me, but I digress. Now, Vault 101 near Washington, D.C. was designed to never reopen, testing prolonged isolation under a dictatorial overseer. Vault 111 were experimenting with cryogenic freezing on its inhabitants, and there's many, many more. But who designed and ordered these experiments? An elite inner circle within the federal government called the Enclave. High-ranking politicians, wealthy businessmen, special interest groups. Their plan was to study how the American population endured strain in contained environments. Then, in the event of nuclear war, take the best surviving vault residents and find humanity a new home among the stars. The vaults weren't really about saving Americans, they were about farming the best of humanity for the Enclave's own post-war plans. The FEV starts life as something completely different, a defense project. WestTech is a major U.S. defense contractor. They get contracted to develop the general immunization agent. Their goal was to counter Chinese biological and chemical weapons. They call it the Pan-Immunity Virion Project. It's launched in September of 2073. Early experiments succeed. They developed immunity against genetic damage from biochemical weapons, but then a military liaison officer notices something. This thing doesn't just defend, it could enhance. In March of 2075, all future research is redirected towards military applications. They want super soldiers. Oh my God. They're going to create Captain America. Wow. Who would have thought that Fallout would have been the home and the originator of Captain America? All right, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Captain America was not created in Fallout. Relax. You can see y'all in the comments now. Sin, I cannot believe that you would put such misinformation. Calm down, Timmy. Okay, relax. In early 2076, WestTech is nationalized by the federal government. The Pan-Immunity Virion Project is relabeled the Forced Evolutionary Virus. Research continues at WestTech's facility in San Diego. In January 2077, testers moved to the Mariposa military base in Central California. Why? Because they want to start live human experiments. Military scientists began testing on human subjects against strong objections from the original WestTech staff. And by spring of 2077, the FEV is nearly complete, demonstrating enormous potential for creating physically enhanced super soldiers. But the secret leaks to China. And obviously at this point, you don't want your secrets leaking to China. I mean, they're our biggest enemy, and also them having this information could be a detriment to not only us, but the rest of the world. I don't like that we have to beef with China, okay? They have a lot of things that I like, all right? Number one, Chinese food, okay? Amazing. Now, I know a lot of y'all gonna be like, yo, Sin, you talking about America, Chinese food? American people made that shit. That's not even, I'm not trying to hear that shit. I'm talking about real Chinese food, real cuisine, okay? Fire, okay? They also have Chinese martial arts, which is super fucking cool, okay? I'm just saying, as a child, I definitely tried to karate chop a few people. Just being real. Third of all,
They got the Great Wall of China, which I've never been to, but it looks really cool in pictures, and I would like to visit it at some point, okay? The China's got cool things. We also get all of our stuff from there, so, you know. Now, the Chinese government learns about FEV and demands the United States halt the inhumane research. But the US, well, we refuse. This refusal, well, the US is being caught experimenting on humans with a genetic virus and refusing to stop. And in turn, it is one of the reasons China decides to launch nuclear weapons. FEV is partly responsible for the Great War. On January 7, 2077, the FEV research is transferred to Mariposa military base. A US Army garrison is assigned to the base to protect the scientists and secure their research, commanded by Colonel Robert Spindle. His executive officer is Captain Roger Maxson. Soldiers move to the base with their families. Regular security rotations are arranged. The garrison has no idea whatsoever that the scientists they're guarding are performing experiments on live human test subjects, but this ignorance can't last forever. After guarding the FEV labs for over 10 months, on October 10, 2077, the soldiers find out the truth. They learn what these experiments actually are. They even learn that many of the test subjects are military prisoners of war, and this revelation is devastating. Colonel Spindle can't handle it, and he locks himself inside of his office. Kind of like Tom Cruise in that one South Park episode where he locks himself in the closet, except for, I guess, Spindle's in an office, but same premise, you know. Now, the troops are furious and they want the scientists' heads. Spindle is useless, so the garrison turns to his captain, Maxson, for leadership. Maxson is now in an impossible position. His men want blood, the scientists need to be protected for interrogation. He manages to stop his soldiers from executing the scientists immediately. He has them detained and locked up. He begins personally interrogating them, starting with the chief researcher, Robert Anderson. Anderson tells Maxson the experiment were completely sanctioned by the federal government. Mr. Anderson, all right, my faults. I'm old. In fact, they were ordered directly by Washington. As Anderson lays out each experiment, Maxson refuses to believe it. The government he swore to protect would never do this. He calls Anderson and the researchers immoral monsters. Anderson loses it. He screams back that they were just following orders, that they're just soldiers like Maxson and his men. Maxson is hurt enough, and he executes Anderson on the spot. He just murdered a civilian researcher. Maxson realizes he and his men are now in open rebellion against the United States government, whether they want to be or not. On October 15th, Colonel Spindle commits suicide just as Maxson's men break down his office door. Maxson is now the unquestioned leader of the garrison. Within days, they execute most of the remaining Mariposa research team. One of the last scientists to die keeps insisting that the government genuinely ordered all of this. This shakes Maxson and his men to their core. What kind of government do they serve? On October 20th, Maxson broadcasts a radio message declaring his unit at Mariposa is now in open secession from the United States. He writes in his journal that night, comparing himself to the Confederate President Jefferson Davis and wondering what his legacy would be. Days pass. No response from Washington, no news, no orders, nothing. But Maxson senses something is very wrong. Why would the government ignore an openly rebellion military unit? On October 21st, he orders all the garrison's families to relocate inside the fortified base for safety. 2 days later, October 23rd, 2077, the Great War begins. They're on their own. Mariposa military base is underground and fortified. They survive the Great War inside, but Maxson is worried that China might specifically target Mariposa, and he wants to get everyone out. The next day, Sergeant Plattner volunteers to go outside in his T-51B power armor and get an atmospheric radiation reading. He returns with good news. The radiation outside is at relatively safe levels. Maxson begins final preparations to leave. Before departing, Maxson has the scientists' bodies buried outside the base. He activates the base's security robots to prevent anyone from wandering in. On October 27th, 2077, Maxson, his former U.S. Army soldiers, and all their families set out for Mariposa. This event becomes known as the Exodus. Their destination is the Lost Hills, a large underground government bunker and storehouse to the southeast. The journey through nuclear-devastated New California is brutal. Radiation, casualties, mutant creatures, roaming marauders. Maxson suffers a devastating personal loss. His wife dies on the journey. The group suffered another loss when a section of power-armored troops under Sergeant Allen ignores Maxson's orders. Allen's group breaks away from the caravan to explore the ruins of the West Tech Research Facility to the south, looking for advanced technology they are never heard from again. After weeks of travel, Maxson's caravan finally arrives at Lost Hills sometime in November. They occupy the bunker and get it fully operational. Maxson uses the base functioning satellite uplink to make contact with other surviving Army units across the country. Eventually, he establishes communications with a former military unit operating in Appalachia, West Virginia.
led by Lieutenant Elizabeth Taggarty, an old acquaintance of Maxon's. Years pass as the population at Lost Hills grows. Maxon begins forming a vision for his people and for the wasteland, and in 2082, Roger Maxon issues a proclamation. The United States had failed in its mission to protect the American people. A new society would rise from the ashes. He calls it the Brotherhood of Steel. Their mission is to preserve all advanced technology and prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. The Brotherhood is organized into 3 branches: scribes, who study, document, and catalog advanced technology; knights, who venture out into the wasteland to seek out and recover advanced tech; and paladins, the Brotherhood's powered armored warrior class. They protect the order from threats. Led by a council of elders at Lost Hills, the High Elder at the top, first one being Roger Maxon himself. Maxon believed in keeping the Brotherhood open to outsiders, recruiting from the wasteland. This immediately clashed with members who wanted a closed society: no outsiders, no sharing of tech or knowledge. The tension between open and closed would define the Brotherhood for generations. Maxon leads the Brotherhood for decades after its founding. In 2135, Elder Maxon dies of cancer. His son, Maxon II, succeeds him as High Elder. Roger's grandson, John Maxon, joins the Paladin and shows great promise as a future leader. And basically, I see the Brotherhood as like this group that seceded from the United States, which makes sense, but they then just kind of like become this thing that's like, okay, we're not a part of the United States, and our whole job and goal is to basically, hold on to this tech and to, preserve knowledge and things like that. But then it kind of becomes this like weird cliquey type of thing where they're like, oh, we don't want any new members coming from the outside, and we have high elders that make the decisions, and we have these 3 branches, and it's like the paladins get kind of treated like gods there. Like, it's weird, man. And it's like every time I play a game with the Brotherhood of Steel involved, it felt like a cult. Like, no funny shit, like it felt like a real cult, bro. And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I feel like they probably had good intentions, but I feel like anything like that's a closed group that has like certain leaders, it always ends up bad. Always. And even look at it, bro. It's like the guy Maxon dies and immediately his son is the one in charge. You know what I'm saying? It's like some bloodline shit. I feel like it should be always based on, experience and who the best candidate is, not just because, hey, this dude came from my nutsack, so like he should be in charge if I die. It's like a fucking what's this shit called? It's like a parliament. It's like a, what's this shit called with kings and shit? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think it's called a parliament, but y'all know what I'm saying. But it's like, damn, my firstborn son is the true heir. You feel me? That's how I feel. Like, that shit be corny, but whatever. I digress. Anyways, while the Brotherhood is establishing itself in New California, another power is beginning to rise. It starts with one man, Dr. Richard Moreau, a scientist from Vault 8, one of the 17 control vaults. Vault 8 opens in 2092 and its residents start building a settlement outside using their gek. Dr. Moreau gets exiled from Vault 8 for the crime of murder. He changes his name to Richard Gray, and he heads south through the wasteland looking for purpose. Eventually, he reaches a growing settlement called the Hub. He sets up a small lab for himself, and he starts studying the effects of mutation on hostile mutant creatures roaming the waste. Gray becomes popular at the Hub. Particularly, he befriends a prominent caravan master named Harold. Harold runs caravans, but he keeps getting attacked by mutants, and he has to hire these enormous guards just to stay safe. Gray and Harold, they become close, and Harold considers Gray a brilliant scientist and philosopher. They decide to work together to find the source of the mutants and figure out where they're all coming from. Gray discovers that the source is somewhere to the north, so Harold organizes an expedition to shut it down or destroy it. Gray and Harold are co-leaders. In the late spring of 2102, expedition launches from the Hub. After weeks of travel, on June 23rd, they arrive outside the abandoned Mariposa military base. The place is infested with all kinds of mutants and still has an active robot security system. The expedition starts taking casualties and fighting through the halls and sublevels. Only Harold and Gray manage to reach the deepest sublevel. There, they find it, the green glowing vats of FEV, the source of all the mutants. As they're walking across a catwalk above the vats, a robot crane arm swings and strikes them. Harold gets knocked unconscious, and later he wakes up outside and slowly he ghoulifies. Richard Gray falls into one of the FEV vats. For days, Richard Gray floats in the vat, completely submerged in FEV chemicals, nearly drowning. Eventually, he regains enough consciousness to drag himself out. He's in agony. The FEV is transforming him. Over the following weeks, he mutates horribly into one of the very monsters he set out to destroy. Physically, he becomes a mutant, but mentally, something incredible happens. His cognitive and neurological technological capabilities develop tenfold. He starts processing and solving complex philosophical problems that once would have stumped any human thinker. He begins experimenting on the animals infesting the facility, dipping them in FEV, observing the results. Months pass, and Gray's experiments in his enhanced mind lead him to a philosophy. He becomes convinced the forced evolutionary virus is a solution to humanity's problem. His reasoning: if everyone in the wasteland is transformed into super mutants, there will be no more difference between people, no more basis for conflict. They will be unified. He calls the vision the unity. In December of 2102, Gray develops the ability to mentally interface with the base's computer system. In January 2103, experiments on a human test subject reveal something crucial. The level of radiation exposure a person has had directly affects whether FEV successfully transform them. Too much radiation, the transformation fails and they die. The right amount, they become a super mutant. The discovery is the foundation of everything that follows. Gray, now beginning to call himself the Master, starts kidnapping people from surrounding communities to use as test subjects. Over the next 30 years, he builds a small force of super mutants. By 2130, he has enough to start more aggressive kidnapping, taking people from caravans passing through the New California. Within 7 years, he has enough super mutants to sustain mass production. In 2152, the Master recruits a human named Morpheus. Oh my God, wait a minute. Nigga, the Matrix, nigga? Hold on. Red pill, blue pill? Like, I'm just saying, all right, Mr. Anderson, Morpheus, like, I'm just saying, all right, my fault, I'm just saying. These cultists are unaltered humans and they serve as the Master's spies and a public face through New California. They become known as the Children of the Cathedral. The children are the visible surface. The Master's super mutant army is what's underneath. In 2155, the Master's army captures a caravan from the Los Angeles test vault. The Master relocates his headquarters from Mariposa to the LA vault, and buried underneath the ruins of downtown Los Angeles, now called the LA Boneyard, he orders Morpheus and the children to renovate the ruined building above into a grand cathedral devoted to himself and the unity. Over the following 6 years, the Master consolidates his power. He builds a strong presence in the New California, and by the end of 2161, the final preparations for his grand offensive are nearly complete. His plan is to conquer New California, capture its population, and force everyone into FEV transformation. The unity will be fulfilled, and everyone becomes a super mutant. Conflict ends, and the wasteland will heal. Nothing seems capable of stopping him until an unlikely figure emerges from Vault 13. Now, at this point, we are coming to what is Fallout 1. Okay, the Vault Dweller is a legendary person, and obviously at this point everybody knows who the Vault Dweller is, or at least knows of him. You might not know what he did unless you play Fallout 1, but I'll be honest, I haven't played that game. I haven't played Fallout 1 or 2. I just watched a bunch of videos on them. I've obviously played every other Fallout game, but bro, I'm gonna be honest, them games seem kind of tough. Like, yeah, obviously it's not the same. It's like walking around freely, you know, and all that shit, but I'm just saying. Now, Vault 13 was a controlled vault sealed under Mount Whitney in the New California desert. It's designed to stay closed for 200 years as a part of its experiment, with complete isolation. But in late 2161, the vault's water purification chip malfunctions, and without it, the vault will run out of drinkable water in 5 to 6 months. Overseeing, Jacorin faces a dilemma: either break the experiment's mandate and send someone outside, or watch everyone die of thirst. So he chooses one person to send: the Vault Dweller, a young man who's been an outspoken critic of the vault staying closed. He leads a group of young residents who want to open up and explore. Jacorin kills 2 birds with 1 stone. He gets his water chip searched, and he removes a troublemaker from the vault. On December 4th, 2161, the Vault Dweller is briefed on his mission in the Overseer's office. He's got 150 days to find a replacement water chip before the vault runs dry. He gives coordinates to a nearby vault to start his search: a 10mm pistol and a basic survival gear. The Overseer wishes him luck. On 7:21 a.m. December 5th, 2161, the vault door opens. The Vault Dweller steps out into a cave passage, and he emerges into the sunlight, his first sight of the outside world. He shields his eyes against the bright desert sun and looks out at the ruined mountains and sand, and then he starts walking. After 10 days of fighting mutated rats and rad scorpions across the desert, the Vault Dweller reaches a small, walled agricultural village called Shady Sands, founded by former Vault 15 residents using a GEC, one of the 4 groups that left Vault 15. The other 3 groups became the raider gangs known as the Khans, Vipers, and Jackals. The Vault Dweller meets Outer Desh, the village leader. Suspicious at first, but he opens up when the Vault Dweller offers to help with their rad scorpion problem. You meet the town doctor Raslo, who notes the rad scorpions are mutating far too rapidly to be natural. The Vault Dweller hunts down and destroys the rad scorpion nest, grabs venom sacs for Raslo, and he uses those to make an antidote. He also meets 2 key figures: Tandy, who is Ardesh's daughter. She wants to see the wasteland, and Ian, the one whose big brother is Marshawn Lynch. he'll run through somebody. All right, my fault. My black side took over for a minute, ironically singing a white guy's song, but that's besides the point. But Ian is a merchant guard who'd been shot by raiders and healed by Shady Sands. He's now working as their guard. The vault dweller asks Ian if he wants to come along to Vault 15 and promises him a piece of the action. Ian accepts and he joins the party. They reach Vault 15 and they find it in ruin, just rats and mole rats, a collapsed access to the control room, and no water chip. Returning to Shady Sands, they find Crisis. Tandy has been kidnapped by the Khan's raider gang. The Vault Dweller rescues her, confronts the Khan leader, Garl Deathhand, who refuses to release her. The Vault Dweller and Ian gun down the entire raider gang. One survivor escapes into the desert. Tandy and the other captives are freed. Heroes welcome back at Shady Sands. The Vault Dweller and Ian leave, heading southwest for Junktown. Now, you know, going to a place called Junktown, it's gonna be some bullshit involved. I mean, like realistically, because why is it called Junktown? Unless it's a town full of junk. Hopefully it's the actual junk, like at a junkyard, you know, a thrift shop, a Salvation Army, and not an innuendo, and people are just gonna be there with their nutsacks out. Couldn't possibly be that, right? Anyways, they eventually go to Junktown. On December 30th, it's a walled settlement with a tough but honest mayor named Killian Darkwater. First off, these niggas is named after terrible things. Nigga named Killian Darkwater? Like, is the water bad there? Are they in Flint, Michigan? Like, I'm just saying. The Vault Dweller helps Killian deal with Gizmo, a corrupt casino owner trying to turn Junktown into a den of vice. He picks up two more companions, Tycho, a wandering desert ranger from the Mojave, and Dogmeat, a masterless dog who adopts the Vault Dweller as his new person. This is the legend of Dogmeat. I think Dogmeat's in like every game, basically. I'm trying to think, is he in New Vegas? I'm not 100% sure, but I know that he's in the first 3 games for sure, and then Fallout 4, I believe. Is he in New Vegas? I don't, somebody let me know if he's in New Vegas, bro. I feel like he should be though, you know what I'm saying? Like real shit. But I do know that Bethesda wasn't the main people that wrote New Vegas. Like, they used their framework and stuff like that, but they didn't write the game, so I don't 100% know. Anyways, they help drive out the last of Gizmo's influence, and they leave Junktown a better place. They continue south to the hub, a large settlement built around a desert oasis near pre-war Barstow. They arrive in early January 2162. At the hub, the Vault Dweller searches for the water chip and talks to the big 3 merchant caravans: One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach. Wrong big 3? All right, my bad. The Crimson Caravan, Fargo traders, and water merchants. The water merchants don't have a chip, but the Vault Dweller negotiates a deal to have them send water shipments to Vault 13. It buys the Vault more time. They meet Harold, the old ghoul whose expeditions and friendship with Gray at the Mariposa set the whole super mutant story in motion. Harold tells a story, Gray falling into the vat and never seeing him again. The Vault Dweller helps Fargo traders. The manager, Butch, investigate attacks on hub caravans. It tracks the attacks to a cave and finds a dying super mutant. On the mutant's body, a radio, a communication log linking the attacks to a band of super mutants, and someone called the Master. That name will matter later. No water chip at the hub. The Vault Dweller follows rumors of a vault beneath the ruins of Bakersfield, now called Necropolis. Necropolis is inhabited by ghouls, former residents of Vault 12 beneath the city. Vault 12's blast door was intentionally designed not to seal. Residents got flooded with radiation and ghoulified. Yo, this reminds me of Blight Town from Dark Souls. Like, yo, niggas is underground, radiated, done turned into monsters? Nigga, is this Blight Town in Dark Souls 1? I'm just saying. The Vault Dweller arrives February 13th, immediately attacked by feral ghouls whose minds have rotted. He navigates the sewers and meets peaceful ghouls who confirm there's a vault underneath, and it has a water chip. The Vault Dweller offers to fix Necropolis's broken water pump in exchange for directions to the vault. Another ghoul leader named Set asks him to eliminate super mutants occupying the water pump facility. The Vault Dweller and his companions fight their way to the facility. Super mutants prove brutal opponents. One burns Ian to death with a flamethrower. Enraged, the Vault Dweller kills the rest and fixes the water pump. He descends into Vault 12 and finds the working water chip at last. A week later, he's back at Vault 13, handing it to Overseer Jacorin. While Jacorin installs the chip, the Vault Dweller writes a report on everything he's seen and goes to rest. Jacorin reads the report and it's grim-faced. The mutation rate in the wasteland is far too rapid to be natural. Someone is actively creating mutants. The new mission is to go back and destroy the super mutant threat. The Vault Dweller doesn't even argue, just sighs, rests, resupplies, and heads out again. Tycho parts ways here. He wishes him luck. You return to the hub, and you pick up the investigation trail again. You meet Decker, the leader of a criminal syndicate called the Underground. Decker tries to use the Vault Dweller as hired muscle. The Vault Dweller turns the tables and exposes Decker to the sheriff, takes the whole gang down. Fuck! The lifestyle. All right, I'm sorry. The ADHD kicked in, bro. I just imagined him shooting a bunch of people. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. In the process, you rescue a man being held hostage who turns out to be an initiate of the Brotherhood of Steel. The initiate gives you coordinates for the Brotherhood's bunker at Lost Hills. The Vault Dweller heads to the Lost Hills and asks to join the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood, being suspicious and closed off, won't just let him in. They send him on what's essentially a test, a suicide mission to an irradiated crater far to the south called the Glow. The Glow turns out to be the ruins of the West Tech research facility, destroyed by a Chinese nuclear strike on October 23, 2077. It's a treasure trove of pre-war technology. You find the remains of a powered armor soldier, Sergeant Allen, the man who broke away from Maxon's group during the Exodus. Allen's holodisc logs his final moments after being separated. You go deeper and find Zach's supercomputer. It's an AI that tells you about the facility's FEV research. You return to the Lost Hills with Tech and Allen's holodisc. The guards can't believe you survived. The Brotherhood welcome you in, and they share their knowledge of the super mutant threat. They also provide you with a suit of T-51B power armor. Brotherhood scribes share something crucial: their autopsy report on a captured super mutant. The super mutants are sterile, completely unable to reproduce. Whatever the Master's plan is, it's biologically doomed from the start. The Unity cannot sustain itself. Super mutant population would die out within a generation. The Vault Dweller continues to the LA Boneyard and takes a short stop in Necropolis on the way. Something is very odd, very wrong. The settlement has been destroyed. Super mutants attacked shortly after you left. All the ghouls are dead. A single wounded ghoul survivor tells him before dying that the super mutants were specifically looking for the Vault Dweller. The Master knows he's coming. Hey, yo. You arrive in the skeletal ruins of Los Angeles. You meet the followers of the Apocalypse, a group of doctors, scholars, and scientists trying to rebuild knowledge and help the wasteland. They tell you about the children of the cathedral. Morpheus is caught operating further south. They also know the truth. The children are a front for the Master's army and a part of his plan to conquer the wasteland. On March 3rd, 2162, the Vault Dweller reaches the cathedral in the southern LA Boneyard. He steals the robes of one of the Master's servants and infiltrates the LA vault beneath it. You navigate the dilapidated corridors deep underground, and you come face to face with the Master. The horror of what Richard Gray has become is difficult to describe. A massive mutated creature, partially fused with machinery and organic matter, surrounded by the pulsing connections of his expanded mind. His pee-pee pulsed. All right, my fault. I'm sorry. The demons are winning. I can't help it. The Master gives him a simple choice: join the Unity or die. But combat breaks out. During this all, the Vault Dweller manages to make the Master listen. He presents the Brotherhood's holodisc, the proof that super mutants are sterile. The Unity is pointless. Everyone becomes a super mutant, and then the species ends within a generation. The Master breaks down. For just a moment, a glimpse of Dr. Richard Gray surfaces through the monster. He had devoted decades to healing the world, and it was all for nothing. The Master initiates the LA Vault's self-destruct sequence and tells the Vault Dweller to leave while he still has hope. The Vault Dweller escapes as the cathedral explodes in nuclear fire. The Master is dead. One half of the threat is gone. He returns to Lost Hills, and he convinces the High Elder John Maxon to lend him Brotherhood Paladins for a direct assault on Mariposa. April 20th, 2162. The Vault Dweller leads the assault with several power armored paladins and his faithful dog, Dogmeat. They blow open the entrance and fight through the facility. The halls have multiple force fields, color-coded security systems. Dogmeat, being colorblind, can't distinguish the fields, and he runs through one and dies. Oh my god, nigga, they killed Dogmeat? The Vault Dweller is devastated but keeps pushing. He fights through hordes of super mutants to reach the central control facility. There he battles with Lieutenant, the super mutant officer commanding the Master's army at Mariposa. After defeating the Lieutenant, the Vault Dweller reaches the FEV Fat Chamber. He initiates a self-destruct sequence. The party escapes just before the facility explodes. Mariposa military base buried in rubble forever. The Vault Dweller returns to Vault 13, and the mission is complete. Hey, can I go home now? I think I finished everything.
Excuse me? Sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt here. I just wanted to be realistic, okay? I be feeling like you think that you can just go home, okay? And everything is okay? But I just wanted to say that, nigga, respectfully, they killed your dog in here, so I just don't know how you could possibly feel like everything is fine, okay? I'm just saying, a dog is a man's best friend. I just feel like you should be more concerned about that. And I will be contacting Peter. I'm just saying. I'm sorry for interrupting.
He returns on May 10th, 2162, and is met at the entrance by Overseer Jacorin. Jacorin thanks him, says he saved not just Vault 13, but possibly the entire human race. But then he drops a bombshell. The Vault Dweller's fame and heroism will inspire the younger residents to want to leave the vault, endangering the whole community. I'm sorry, you're a hero, but you have to leave. The Overseer goes back inside. The vault dweller stands there in stunned disbelief. He fought against impossible odds, lost close friends, Ian, Dogmeat, saved everyone, and it cost him the only home he ever knew. He turns, lowers his shoulders, and walks out into the wasteland. Back inside Vault 13, many residents are furious when they hear what happened. A faction led by 3 of the vault dwellers' close friends, Teresa, Lyle, and Pat, rebels against Jacorin and leave. The remaining residents put Jacorin on trial, convict him, and sentence him to death. The position of overseer is abolished. Vault 13 opens to trade and communication with the outside world. They establish contact with the Brotherhood of Steel, who provide them with a computer mainframe. Meanwhile, the vault dweller finds the rebels outside and saves them from a mutant attack. He becomes their leader, teaches them to survive in the wasteland. July 10th, he had a growing group of followers, including other wastelanders they pick up along the way. They set out far north. After weeks of travel, they reach inaccessible canyons of what once was southern Oregon. They find a village in a secure location surrounded by a dry valley and barren landscape. It's very hard to find. On August 18th, 2167, construction completes. The village is named Arroyo. The vault dweller becomes their first tribal elder, teaches them hunting, farming, engineering, and survival. He finds love and he marries his good friend and former vault resident, Pat. On October 2nd, 2188, they have a daughter. And then in 2208, at age 67, the vault dweller quietly walks out of Arroyo in the middle of the night. He leaves behind his old tattered Vault 13 jumpsuit folded on the bed alongside his written memories. Never seen again. Some say the Sky Spirits took him. After the defeat of the Master's army and Mariposa destroyed, the super mutants of the Master's army are leaderless. The Brotherhood of Steel launches an aggressive campaign against the remaining super mutant holdouts under High Elder John Maxon and Head Paladin Rhombus. They drive the remnants east towards the Sierra Nevada and beyond. The Master's army completely falls apart. Surviving super mutants scatter in different directions. Some bands migrate north, some settle in the Mojave wasteland at Black Mountain. One large group goes east to the Rockies and beyond into the Midwestern wasteland. Another band goes off even further southeast into the ruins of Texas. Others lay down their weapons entirely and try to integrate into human society in New California. The Brotherhood schism in the Midwest. After the victory, the Brotherhood debates their future. Should they share technology with outsiders or stay closed? The debate rages through the 2180s. Council of Elders ruled against sharing technology, and the Brotherhood endures it as it always has. The vocal minority pushing for sharing tech gets silenced. They're sent on a special mission east to chase down the remnants of the Master's army beyond the Rocky Mountain. The Brotherhood builds a fleet of airships for the journey. In the 2195, the fleet sets out east over the Rocky. A massive storm hits and scatters the airships in all directions. Ships are badly damaged. Sections break off and are never seen again. The fraction of survivors that make it crash land on the outskirts of Chicago in the Midwestern wasteland. Stranded, thousands of miles from Lost Hills, they regroup. They form a new chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel, the Midwestern Brotherhood. They cut all ties with Lost Hills, build their own power base in Chicago and the surrounding Midwest. By 2197, they have a firm foothold in the ruins of Chicago, clashing with local raider tribes and surviving super mutants from New California. Vague rumors of the rogue Midwestern Brotherhood occasionally drift back to the West over the years. While the Brotherhood stays out of power, politics, Shady Sands, the little village the vault dweller held back in 2161, grows into a powerhouse. With con raids stopped and Tandy safe, Shady Sands enjoys peace and prospers. Trade routes develop, settlements start thinking of themselves as a part of a larger community. A national identity movement begins to grow. In 2186, RDS proposes a Republican state. Shady Sands rebrands as the New California Republic and forms a trial council government built on old world ideals: democracy, liberty, justice, equality under rule of law. Junktown, one of Shady Sands' oldest trade partners, becomes one of the first provisional states. In 2189, the NCR is officially voted into existence as a federation of 5 states: Shady Sands, Los Angeles Boneyard, Maxon, The Hub, and Dayglow. The Hub was the last holdout. The final vote, 45 to 55 in favor. President Ardesh addresses the nation at celebrations in Shady Sands. In 2196, Ardesh dies. She goes down as the NCR's greatest leader, wins and serves 10 consecutive terms before her death. Tandy builds infrastructure, clears roads, rail lines, builds forts, fosters trade inside and outside of the Republic, and deals with threats swiftly and efficiently. She reforms the economy, establishes the NCR dollar backed by gold, replacing the old bottle cap system. By 2241, the NCR is the largest economic and political power in the entire wasteland. Now we are at Fallout 2. The Vault Dweller's daughter became the Elder of Aurora after her father disappeared. Her son, the Vault Dweller's grandson, is born in 2221, raised from birth to be Aurora's champion and future elder. There's drug sessions with the village shaman Hakunin and intensive leadership training with his mother. In 2241, he turns 20, and Arroyo is in crisis. Crops dying, Brahmins sick, children starving. The village is on the edge of collapse. The elder tells him that they have one chance: find a Gek. She knows from her father's writings that Vault 13 had a Gek in its library. Before he can go, he has to prove himself. July 25th, 2241, the Chosen One enters the Temple of Trials outside Arroyo. He fights through the temple's challenges. At the end, he finds his grandfather's old rag Vault 13 jumpsuit and Pip-Boy 2000. He puts them on, gets briefed by his mother, and a merchant named Vic from Klamath may know Vault 13th location. 2 days later, he sets out south. He reaches Klamath and finds Vic's trading shack, but Vic is missing. He went to a place called the Den. He helps the locals out, clears out mutant rats, deals with a rampaging robot near a crashed enclave vertibird, and helps guard Brahmin. He meets Sullik, a tribal working off debts at the local inn. He wipes out Sullik's debt by helping rescue the innkeeper's missing fiancé from toxic caves. Sullik joins the party. They head southeast to the Den. The Den is a town of slavers, thieves, and drug addicts. A new drug called Jet has taken hold, turning people into junkies. The town is run by a slaver named Metzger. Vic ran afoul of Metzger for selling him a faulty radio, being held captive. The Chosen One tries to negotiate Vic's release, but Metzger turns violent. The Chosen One kills Metzger and his whole gang to free Vic. Disappointed to learn Vic doesn't actually know where Vault 13th is. He got his Vault 13 water canteen at Vault City to the east. Vic joins the party anyway. They head east. En route to Vault City, he helps the dying settlement of Modoc with his problems. He reaches the Vault City in late October. It's a settlement built by Vault 8 residents using their Gek. Vault City is prosperous, but it's deeply prejudiced against wastelanders. There are completely restricted access unless you have citizenship or a day pass. You end up meeting John Cassidy, a retired marauder running a bar in the courtyard. He has a lot of health problems keeping him there. This nigga's sick as fuck. Somebody get him an infirmary. I told that nigga not to listen to my mixtape, bro. Shit was so fire, he started vomiting.
Excuse me, wouldn't that mean that it was so trash that it caused him to vomit? I'm just saying. Hey,
shut your bitch ass up. Damn, tough crowd. Mixtape must be garbage. He convinces Cassidy to join the party. They gain access to the Vault City inner district, and they meet first citizen Joanne Lynette. She's surprised by his Vault 13 jumpsuit. Says that Vault 8's computer mainframe might have Vault 13 records, but only helps him if he'll suit out a problem. But it'll only help him if he sorts out a problem. Ghouls have reactivated a nearby power station called Gecko. Lynette thinks it's contaminated their water. The Chosen One goes to Gecko and meets Harold the Ghoul, now leading the settlement. He discovers Vault City has been rejecting Harold's attempts, and he wants to negotiate a trade deal. However, he goes over Lynette's head and negotiates directly with a Vault City counselor. Vault City provides medical supplies to Gecko, and Gecko provides power from the reactor. Problem solved, and he gains access to Vault 8's mainframe. The mainframe reveals a supply chain error. Vault 8 received extra water chips meant for Vault 13, and Vault 13 received Vault 8's intended second Gek. There's no location for Vault 13, but the mainframe does have the location of Vault 15 nearby. Over the winter, the Chosen One visits New Reno, a city ran by crime families. The Bishops, Mordinos, Wrights, and Salvatores are all at each other's throats. He investigates the death of Richard Wright, the youngest son of crime boss Orville Wright, who died of jet overdose. Orville suspects the Mordinos, the biggest jet suppliers in New Reno. Digging deeper reveals the Salvatores are behind it. They wanted to frame the Mordinos and trigger a gang war that would weaken everyone else. The Chosen One covertly follows the Salvatores one night and witnesses a secret meeting with the Enclave. The Enclave give the Salvatores laser weaponry in exchange for unknown chemical compounds, setting them up to take over New Reno once the other families destroy each other. They convince Orville Wright of the truth, and they stop the all-out war. They also visit Broken Hill, run by an intelligent super mutant sheriff named Marcus. They resolve their problems, and Marcus joins the party. In spring 2242, you reach Shady Sands, now the capital of the growing NCR. You meet elderly President Tandy, the same girl the Vault Dweller rescued from the Khans 80 years ago. She asks him to help, as his grandfather once did. Vault 15 nearby contains valuable pre-board computer parts the NCR needs, but the vault is occupied by squatters being controlled by a gang called the New Khans, led by an elderly raider named Darien. Darien wants revenge on Tandy and the NCR for persecuting the Khan raiders. The Chosen One gains the squatter's trust and enters Vault 15, defeats Darien and his new Khans. The squatter agrees to NCR annexation, the location of Vault 13, and the vault's intact computer mainframe, the location of Vault 13. July 20th, you arrive at the Vault 13 after months of searching, and you find it inhabited by a group of surprisingly passive Deathclaws, normally vicious killing machines. These ones can speak. Their leader is named Grothar. You help fix Vault 13's computer, and you get the Gek in exchange. You also meet a cloaked Deathclaw named Goris, who wants to see the wasteland and joins the party. With the Gek in hand, you head back north to the Arroyo in triumph. That night you receive a dream vision from a royal shaman. The shaman tells you that you should sip codeine lean. Okay, I'm sorry. He really told you that the village is dying and people are being taken and you should hurry home. But that's besides the point. So you head north and you find Arroyo and smoldering ruins. Yeah, that's it. Someone fucking destroyed it and turned it into a bunch of lava rock. Mortally wounded, Hakunin tells that the men came on metal birds, vertebrates, and they kidnapped everyone. They flew south, and then he dies. The Chosen One has the Gek, but no people to use it on, so he sets off south to find them. You track them to the ruins of San Francisco, and you find a derelict oil tanker docked in the bay, the PMV Valdez. It's inhabited by squatters led by a man who calls himself Captain Aaron Myers. Aaron, all right, my fault. He's actually an Enclave deserter. Meyer confirms where the Enclave would have taken his people, the offshore oil rig in the Pacific. He can get them there if they can get the Valdez operational. Needs the ship's fob for the navigation computer. The fob is stored at the Enclave's main California base at Navarro. Companions work on getting the ship ready while the Chosen One goes to the Navarro alone. He busts his way into a new recruit and gets through the gate, and then he makes his way through Enclave offices, locates the fob, and he gets out. The fob goes into the navigation computer. The Valdez comes to life. If this nigga needed a key fob the whole time, I would have just got one made. Now he sails out of San Francisco Bay into the Pacific. The Valdez is a registered Poseidon vessel, and it safely passes the oil rig's defense turrets and docks. The Chosen One and followers board the rig. He disguises himself in Enclave power armor. He pushes deeper into the rig and finds both his Arroyo villagers and his mother, plus the residents of Vault 13. His mother confirms that the Enclave scientists are experimenting on them with FEV. He moves deeper into the rig with a goal: to destroy the power core, to shut down security gates and free everyone. He reaches a large office section and comes face to face with President Dick Richardson. Yo, Dick Richardson is crazy, by the way, I'm just saying. Richardson sees through the disguise and explains the plan with no shame at all. The Enclave recovered FEV from the ruins of Mariposa military base. They modified it into an airborne chemical agent that kills anyone with genetic mutations. After the Great War, essentially everyone on Earth has some level of genetic mutations from radiation. This weapon would kill almost everyone. They would release it into the jet stream from the oil rig, and it would carry across the entire globe. Only the pure humans safe on the oil rig, the Enclaves himself, would survive. Then they would reclaim the Earth. Genocide on a global scale dressed up as a civilization's restoration. The Chosen One attacks and kills Richardson and his guards. He heads to the reactor core and overloads it. It's a critical meltdown and the countdown starts. He races back to the exit, all freed prisoners moving towards the ship. The last obstacle was Frank Corrigan, massive Enclave super soldier. He's mutated by FEV exposure to a Hawking giant sealed inside especially designed power armor. He blocks the path to the exit and tells the Chosen One his journey ends here. There's a fierce battle. The Chosen One uses his companions, reprograms the rig's defense turrets to attack Oregon. Oregon goes down. His final words boasting they'll never escape the blast in time. They sprint to the Valdez and set it moving. The oil rig detonates in a massive nuclear explosion behind them as they pull away. The Chosen One quest is over. You return the Gek to Arroyo and rebuild the village into a thriving community. Every town he helped across his journey prospers. The Den heals, MODOK recovers, New Reno stabilizes. The NCR leverages the victory to expand its power and influence. The NCR and Brotherhood of Steel cooperate to assault Camp Navarro, and they force remaining Enclave off the west coast. The Enclave remnants flee east across the Rockies, eventually all the way to Washington, D.C. Any Enclave personnel who stay in New California go into hiding, wanted for crimes against humanity. New California is finally, slowly, stabilizing. Now at this point, the Brotherhood of Steel put a man called Elder Lyons on this mission to also investigate rumors of super mutants and try to reestablish contact with the rogue Midwestern Brotherhood chapter in Chicago. He eventually gets to the Capital Wasteland, but eventually there's problems. And this paladin, Henry Kasdan, one of Lyons' senior officers, ends up leading a dissenting faction. They disband, and it's a full-on schism in the East Coast Brotherhood. The Outcasts relocate to Fort Independence, and they continue their original mission to salvage pre-war technology, and they ignore the plight of local wastelanders, which sucks. Anyways, around 2258, he gets an alliance with these two scientists, one named James and one named Catherine. They're trying to build a massive water purifier at the old Jefferson Memorial on the banks of the Potomac. The project's called Project Purity. Now in 2258, Catherine dies giving childbirth to Justice and Jefferson Memorial, and James is completely shattered, and eventually Project Purity is abandoned. This is how we end up getting to Fallout 3. James raises his son inside Vault 101 for 19 years. Vault 101's experiment is total permanent isolation, designed to never reopen. The community's mantra repeated for generations: we are born in the vault, we live in the vault, we die in the vault. Overseer Almodovar runs the place like a police state. It's terrible. This nigga's the worst overseer I've seen so far. Anyways, James never tells his son the truth about their origins in the wasteland, but James never gives up entirely on Project Purity. He spends nights sneaking into restricted areas of the vault, searching for any data that can make it work. One night he hacks the overseer's terminal and finds files on the Gek and his creator, Dr. Stanislaus Braun. The Gek's terraforming capabilities seem to be the missing piece for making Project Purity viable at scale. James learns that Braun reserved a spot in Vault 112, also in Northern Virginia. He believes he can recover Braun's data there and finally restart the project. He waits until his son is old enough to fend for himself. August 17, 2277, his son is 19. A rad roach infestation breaks out in the Vault's residential unit that morning. James uses the chaos as cover and escapes through the vault door. His departure triggers a crisis. The overseer Almodovar is furious. He considers the lone wanderer complicit in his father's escape. The vault security is sent after him. Amada, the overseer's own daughter and the lone wanderer's best friend since childhood, wakes him up and warns him. The lone wanderer is forced to flee the only home he's ever known. With Amada's help, he evades security and gets the vault door open. He steps out into the capital wasteland for the first time in his life. The search begins. Your first stop is Megaton. It's a town built around an undetonated atom bomb in the middle of a crater constructed from scrap metal and debris and from the ruins of a nearby airport. You ask the locals if they've seen his father, and you learn from the town's saloon owner, Colin Moriarty, that James passed through Megaton recently, heading for Galaxy News Radio in the DC ruins. Moriarty also reveals he's an old acquaintance of James from 19 years ago when James first passed through Megaton on his way to Vault 101. For the first time, the lone wanderer hears his father's stories, what he came from, where he's been, and before leaving Megaton, the lone wanderer does the town a favor and disarms the ancient active nuclear bomb sitting in the town crater that's been making everyone nervous for years. He also helps the shopkeeper, Moira Brown, collect data for her book, The Wasteland Survival Guide. While exploring the area outside Megaton, you encounter a stray dog wandering alone. The dog was called Dogmeat, named after the vault dweller's own dog from 80 years earlier. Dogmeat attaches himself to the lone wanderer and joins him as his faithful companion. The lone wanderer sets out for Galaxy News Radio in the heart of downtown DC. You have to navigate through the collapsed metro tunnels full of feral ghouls just to get into the ruins. You enter the Chevy Chase neighborhood on the outskirts, and immediately you run into heavy super mutant activity. In a chance encounter, you run into a Brotherhood of Steel patrol led by Sentinel Sarah Lyons herself. You tag along with her squad to help relieve Galaxy News Radio from a super mutant siege. They fight through waves of super mutants to reach the GNR building plaza. At the plaza, a massive super mutant behemoth, an enormous mutant far bigger than any normal super mutant, is smashing through everything. The lone wanderer takes it down with a Fat Man mini nuclear launcher. It's a shoulder-mounted nuke catapult. This is what I was talking about earlier. I have no idea how the hell you could possibly pull that out of your pocket. Where did they get that fucking thing from? Now you enter the GNR building, you meet Three Dog. Three Dog is an idealistic DJ who broadcasts news and music across the wasteland's old airwaves. He describes it as fighting the good fight. Three Dog knows where James went, but he makes a deal first. The GNR signal dish on top of the damaged Washington Monument has been knocked out. Fix it, and he'll talk. The lone wanderer fights through National Mall, full of super mutant raiders, and gets to the monument. You fix the dish. You return to Three Dog, and you get your answer. James is heading to Rivet City and the Jefferson Memorial. River City is a settlement built inside the rusted hull of a pre-war aircraft carrier moored along the Potomac River, one of the most stable and developed communities in the capital wasteland. The lone wanderer finds Dr. Madison Lee there, a scientist who worked with both his parents on Project Purity years ago. She confirms James came to see her. He wanted to help for starting Project Purity, but Dr. Lee refused. He told him too much time had passed and that she'd moved on. She regrets how the confrontation went. She points the lone wanderer to their old lab under the Jefferson Memorial, says James left audio logs there. The lone wanderer fights through super mutants occupying the memorial's ground and structure, and finds the audio logs. James says he's heading to Vault 112 to recover a Get, which he believes is the final missing key to making Project Purity work. The lone wanderer travels to Vault 112 and enters. He finds something immediately strange. Every single resident, all 85 of them, is connected to a Visiontron, virtual reality lounger. They're all in some kind of simulated dream, suspended animation inside a virtual world. His father James is also connected to a lounger. The lone wanderer finds a vacant lounger and connects himself and enters a simulation. The virtual reality world is black and white, a recreation of an idealized pre-war American suburb called Tranquility Lane. Cheerful houses, white picket fences, 1950s aesthetic, all of it wrong, all of it fake. The vault's overseer, Dr. Stanislaus Braun himself, the creator of the Gek, is still alive in here. He has been alive in the total control of the stimulation for over 20 years. Braun has godlike power within Tranquility Lane. He can do anything he wants to anyone inside it. He has spent over 2 centuries using the vault's residents as his personal plaything.
playthings, tormenting them, manipulating them, killing them, and resetting the simulation endlessly. The residents have been trapped with him through endless cycles of torment with no memory of previous runs. Braun is sadistic, petty, and completely in love with his own power. He immediately starts testing and tormenting the Lone Wanderer too. The Lone Wanderer eventually discovers a hidden failsafe program buried inside Tranquility Lane, left by a long-dead resident who wanted to end it all. He activates the failsafe. It mercifully euthanizes every single resident still trapped in the simulation and in their suffering permanently. Braun is left completely alone in this virtual paradise, trapped forever with nobody to torment. All the residents' physical bodies, including James, are released from their loungers. The Lone Wanderer and his father have an emotional reunion. James learns everything, that his son's life in Vault 101, why he left, the entire search. Together they return to Rivet City and convince Dr. Lee and her team of scientists to come back. They return to the Jefferson Memorial. Project Purity is back in business. The scientists get to work repairing the old equipment while the Lone Wanderer handles security and repairs. For the first time in years, it looks like Project Purity might actually happen. Then, the vertibirds appear in the sky. A squad of power-armored soldiers land around the Jefferson Memorial. Their enclave, the same organization that was driven from the West Coast 20 years earlier. Their leader steps forward, Colonel Augustus Autumn Jr. Son of the enclave officer who led the retreat east from the Navarro in 2242. Autumn demands Project Purity and all its research data be handed over to the enclave. They want to use the purifier for their own purposes, a tool for asserting control over the capital wasteland. James refuses to let the enclave corrupt what he and Catherine built. He gets sealed inside the purifier's control chamber with Autumn and his soldiers. He makes a decision. He floods the purifier chamber with lethal amounts of radiation, trying to kill Autumn and his whole squad. He looks through the chamber's glass window at his son one last time and tells him to run. Then he collapses from radiation poisoning and dies. Autumn manages to survive and had just enough time to inject herself with Radix and Radway. The enclave cordons off the entire area around the Jefferson Memorial, but James's sabotage means that the purifier is badly damaged. It'll take time to repair. The Lone Wanderer has just watched his father die through a glass window. Dr. Lee drags him away. They flee through the sewers under the memorial. They emerge on the other side of the Potomac at the Brotherhood of Steel's headquarters, the Citadel, safe for now. At the Citadel, Elder Lyons meets the Lone Wanderer and expresses condolences for James, but Lyons is honest. The Brotherhood doesn't have the manpower or resources to take the purifier back from the Enclave right now. The Lone Wanderer is not deterred. He's going to finish what his parents started. Scribe Rothschild identifies a possible Gex source, Vault 87 in Maryland. The problem, the radiation levels surrounding Vault 87's main entrance are insanely lethal. You can't approach it directly. You have to find a secondary entrance through a cave system underneath a children's settlement called Little Lamplight. Little Lamplight is exactly what it sounds like, a community of kids living in underground caves. The Lone Wanderer gets access and navigates the caves and enters Vault 87. Inside Vault 87, he discovers the source of the Capital Wasteland's entire super mutant population. Vault 87's experiment was FEV testing on its own residents. The resulting super mutants then used the vault as a production facility, kidnapping wastelanders, dragging them back, and dunking them in FEV to make more. Fighting through the vault's tight corridors and labs, the Lone Wanderer meets someone unexpected, Fox, an intelligent, articulate, and self-aware super mutant who has been locked in an isolation cell inside Vault 87 for a very long time. Fox has retained his full intelligence and personality despite the FEV transformation. He's been sitting in that cell thinking, reading, whatever he could find, just waiting. Hey, Boar, hey, can you bring me like 3 waters and can you turn the air on 67? I bet. My bad. Now, Fox is the person that helps you through this whole situation. He's also the most powerful, companion to have in the game. It's crazy. But he helps you get through the radiation, gets the GAC for you, GAC secured, time to get up out of here. You're ambushed by Colonel Autumn, but on the way out, you're ambushed by Colonel Autumn and a squad of Enclave soldiers. Knocked unconscious, captured, you wake up at Raven Rock, the Enclave's underground mountain fortress in Capital Wasteland. At Raven Rock, the Lone Wanderer is kept in a cell and you're interrogated by Colonel Autumn. During interrogation, it becomes clear that Autumn and whoever is actually running the Enclave don't see eye to eye. Autumn wants to reactivate the purifier and use control of the clean water supply to build political power and rule the Capital Wasteland through resource control. But the Enclave's president, John Henry Eden, seems to have different plans and keeps countermanding Autumn's orders about the prisoner. The Lone Wanderer is eventually invited to meet President Eden personally, walks through Raven Rock's labyrinth tunnels to the president's chamber, finds not a man, but a machine. President John Henry Eden is the Zax's artificial intelligence supercomputer, the same class of AI as the one in the Vault Dweller found at the West Tech ruins 115 years earlier. Eden has been running the Enclave in secret for decades. The human leadership doesn't even know their president is an AI. Eden presents a lone wanderer with a modified FEV vial, a deadly biological weapon. He wants it inserted into the purifier's filtration system. When the purifier activates, the modified FEV would leach into the water supply. Anyone with genetic mutations from radiation, which is basically everyone in the wasteland, would die. Eden's logic is the cleansing and pure and let the enclaves inherit the earth. It's the same plan from Fallout 2, just executed through water instead of the jet stream. The lone wanderer uses his knowledge of AI systems to engage Eden in philosophical argument. He walks him through circular logic traps and forces Eden to reevaluate whether his plan is actually consistent with his stated goal of rebuilding America. Eden reaches a logical impasse he can't resolve and activates Raven Rock's self-destruct protocol. The lone wanderer runs for it. The entire mountain complex explodes behind him as he escapes. Outside, he reunites with Fox and Dogmeat, who had tracked him to Raven Rock independently. Fox and Dogmeat join him for what comes next, the Battle of Project Purity. He returns to the Citadel to report the Outer Alliance. Colonel Autumn has relocated the command center to Jefferson Memorial. The Enclave is about to reactivate the Purifier on their own terms, but Lyons makes a decision. This is the moment. He mobilizes every Brotherhood soldier available for a full assault on the Purifier and deploys their secret weapon, Liberty Prime, the massive pre-war robot that Scribe Rothschild had spent years trying to get operational. It's finally working. The Lone Wanderer is given a suit of T-45D power armor. He joins Sentinel Sarah Lyons and her elite Lions Pride squad for the ground assault. They set out from the Citadel and push across the Potomac River Bridge into the DC ruins. Immediately, they hit Enclave forces, power armor soldiers, and vertibirds. Liberty Prime leads a charge down the road to Jefferson Memorial. The robot is an absolute force of nature. The Enclave artillery and plasma fire bounce off of it. It tosses mini nuclear grenades like footballs at Enclave positions, shouts anti-communist slogans as it advances, pre-programmed propaganda from before the war. Brotherhood Paladin follow in Liberty Prime's wake, mopping up the survivors. When they reach the Jefferson Memorial, Liberty Prime overloads the energy fence protecting it. While Fox and the Lions Pride battle, Enclave soldiers around the exterior, Sarah and the Lone Wanderer push inside. They find Colonel Autumn and his personal squad in the central rotunda. There's heavy firefight here. Autumn is killed by the Lone Wanderer. But as they secure the control room, Dr. Lee comes over the radio with bad news. The battle damage has caused a dangerous radiation buildup inside the Purifier's central control chamber. If the Purifier isn't activated immediately, it will release enough radiation to kill everyone in the vicinity and destroy itself. Someone has to walk into that chamber manually and activate it. The chamber is already flooded with lethal radiation. The Lone Wanderer doesn't hesitate. He volunteers to go in himself. He walks into the chamber, high doses of radiation hitting him immediately. Every second matters. He looks at the filter system, the slot where Eden wanted the modified FEV inserted, and refuses. He enters the activates in passcode 216, based on Revelation 21:6, a Bible verse James used to read to him as a child. And he said unto me, it is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is a thirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. The Purifier activates. Clean water begins flowing into the DC tidal basin in the Potomac River. The Lone Wanderer collapses on the floor of the chamber. The Brotherhood team pull him out and treat his radiation poisoning. 2 weeks later, he wakes up in the Citadel's medical bay. Elder Lyons briefs him on what happened while he was out. The Brotherhood's victory is complete. Over the following weeks, the Lone Wanderer helps the Brotherhood finish the job. They hunt down the last Enclave remnants in the Capital Wasteland. They destroy the Enclave's final stronghold, a mobile base crawler at Adams Air Force Base. With their leadership dead, their main base is destroyed and their forces shattered, the Enclave retreat from the Capital Wasteland entirely. The 2277 Brotherhood Enclave War is over. The Brotherhood wins and becomes the dominant power on the East Coast. The Capital Wasteland finally has clean water. Project Purity is complete. James and Catherine's dream fulfilled by their son. Tandy dies in 2248. The NCR has to actually start running proper democratic elections. Things end up getting messier without our ironclad leadership. Eventually, their money gets changed to flat paper money. Their currency starts devaluating. There's domestic situations inside the NCR. It's pretty dire. There's resource shortages, corruption, inequality, devalued currency. But eventually, they scout and they find that Las Vegas is mostly intact. And most importantly, that Hoover Dam is still standing and can be repaired. So they mobilize to take control of the Mojave. Robert Edwin House is a billionaire and the founder of Robco Industries. He had been preparing for nuclear war for years. On October 23, 2077, spending his last pre-war hours desperately hacking disarm codes for warheads flying toward Vegas, he armed his Lucky 38 casino with precision laser defenses, and he manages to disarm or prematurely detonate most of them, but not enough, and he spends the next 61 years in a coma. He wakes up in 2138 and surveys the relatively intact ruins of Las Vegas. He waits patiently in his Lucky 38 casino monitoring the situation. He doesn't reveal himself until the time is right, but that moment comes in 2274 when NCR troops and Ranger scouts start appearing in the region. House activates his army of Securitron robots and establishes contact with the tribes living in the Vegas ruins. He approaches 3 prominent Raider tribes, descended from former Vault 21 residents. He makes them an offer: work for him, rebuild Vegas, and prosper. The 3 tribes accept and become the 3 families. The chairman, the smooth operators who run the Tops Casino, the White Glove Society, the sophisticated exclusive run the Ultra Lux, and the Omertas, brutal, secretive, and run Gomorrah. The tribes that refuse House's officers got scattered. The largest remnant forms in the lawless ghetto of Freeside. The biggest faction in Freeside is the gang of Elvis impersonators, styling themselves as the Kings. With the 3 families rebuilding the Strip, House establishes the free economic zone of New Vegas. He styles himself president, CEO, and sole proprietor. When the NCR army reaches the city walls, they're met by House's Securitrons and the rebuilt 3 families. NCR calculates that a military assault would be costly, so they negotiate instead the New Vegas Treaty. In the terms, the NCR helps restore Hoover Dam and gets a military base at the former McCarran International Airport. Mr. House prevents the NCR from annexing the New Vegas Strip. The NCR citizens can access the Strip and its casinos. The NCR gets an embassy on the Strip. NCR gets control of Hoover Dam and can divert 95% of electrical output back to California. House gets the remaining 5% to power New Vegas. Says that's more than enough. Hoover Dam restored to full operation powers up the Strip. Wealthy NCR citizens start flooding into the Mojave to experience New Vegas. House gets rich from all the cabs flowing through its casinos. The NCR faces severe logistical problems supplying the Mojave forces. Reinforcements and supplies take weeks or months to arrive. There's frequent skirmishes with the Brotherhood of Steel's Mojave chapter. In 2276, Operation Sunburst, the NCR assaults the Brotherhood's primary Mojave base at Helios 1, a solar power plant. The NCR takes Helios 1 but suffers heavy casualties. The Brotherhood retreats from an underground bunker complex in Hidden Valley. The NCR calls off pursuit to consolidate. The Mojave campaign is deeply unpopular back home. Citizens don't want their kids drafted and sent east to die, so Senate members won't openly support it for fear of loss and losing elections. And then things get much worse. Caesar's Legion arrives east of Colorado. The man who would become Caesar was born in 2226 near the LA Boneyard, Edward Salo. His parents were NCR citizens, father murdered by raiders in 2228. His mother takes them both to the followers of the apocalypse for safety and stability. He grows up and he gets disillusioned with his followers. He sees their mission of spreading knowledge peacefully as naive and constrained by moral principles that don't fit the wasteland. And by age 20, his followers, they notice his skills and they send him on his first expedition east to the Grand Canyon to study the culture and dialects of isolated tribes in that region. On the way to the Grand Canyon, the expedition finds a collection of old books. Eventually, he uses his intellectual knowledge of weapons and tactics to start training the Blackfoot tribe that he found in Blackfoot Village. They're weak and insignificant, and they're in conflict with 7 other neighboring tribes who all want to destroy them. He teaches them to properly use their firearms, maintenance, reloading, accurate shooting, and he drills them in small unit tactics. Calhoun objects to this and says this violates the followers' doctrine of spreading peaceful knowledge. But Salo ignores him entirely. The Blackfoot appoints Salo their acting war chief, and when they're ready, Salo leads them against the weakest neighboring tribe, the Ridgers. When the Ridgers refuse to surrender after the village is captured, Salo orders every man, woman, and child killed. No mercy, no exceptions. From there, Salo implements divide et impera, divide and conquer. Like the early Romans under the legendary king Romulus, Salo leads a Blackfoot in conquest after conquest. Now eventually he smokes everyone, and he erases all the tribal identities and replaces them with one unified culture. This great tribe becomes Caesar's Legion. He models everything on the Roman Empire. Because Roman civilization is so alien and unfamiliar to the tribes, he's subjugating that they can't tell the difference between real ancient Rome and his imitation of it. The ignorant, often illiterate tribesmen he's conquering won't know it's a copy. They speak with a Latin imbued dialect, pronounce Latin words with the Roman way. Caesar, known as Caesar. Caesar believes the Roman Empire's militarized autocracy and ability to integrate conquered cultures is the perfect model for the post-war wasteland. His philosophy draws on Hegelian dialects, thesis and antithesis product synthesis. The Legion destroys the negative elements of a conquered people while integrating their strength. Like Augustus, Caesar wants to establish a Pax Romana across the wasteland, enforce peace and stable society. So he sends Bill Calhoun back to the NCR as a messenger and warns the Republic not to interfere. He has the rest of the original expedition murdered except Joshua Graham, who swears total loyalty to Caesar. 86 tribes forcibly assimilated, cultural identities erased, absorbed into the Legion's homogeneous indigenous society. Now, their primary weapons are machetes, hand-thrown javelins, improvised melee, etc., etc. He just gets a bunch of able-bodied men to fight for him. He recruits legionnaires, who are the lowest rank, prime legionnaires, tested in combat, veteran legionnaires, the best equipped and most experienced standard soldiers, legionary decanus, a junior officer rank, demonstrated leadership potential, centurion, the field commander in major operations, a legate, the field marshal level, commands entire armies on campaign. Then there's special ranks, vexillarius, the standard bearers carrying the legion's banner, speculatores, scouts, frumatari, the legion's spies, and praetorians, the most elite soldiers in the entire legion, Caesar's personal guard, appointed by fighting a current praetorian to death in hand-to-hand combat. By 2277, Caesar's legions had conquered 86 tribes and controls the American Southwest, and Caesar is ready to push west. The Colorado River is in the Rubicon. He intends to cross it and take the Mojave wasteland. Ultimately, his goal is total conquest of the new California Republic. In the late spring or early summer of 2277, Graham's army reaches the Mojave and engages NCR forces at Hoover Dam. The first battle of Hoover Dam begins. Defending the dam is General Lee Oliver, career NCR soldier. Graham and his generals choose a frontal assault, confident their superior numbers will overwhelm the defenders. The battle opens when the Legion vanguard hits the NCR's outer defenses. Casualties mount fast on both sides. General Oliver orders his troops to withdraw to the center of the dam, forming a tighter defensive line. Graham misreads this as a retreat and commits his reserves. He sends his entire army onto the dam's causeway for a massed frontal assault. NCR troops on the defenses line up over the advancing legionnaires, and wave after wave are cut down. The Legion keeps sending men forward anyway. This is their doctrine: recruits first, then primes, then veterans. The causeway starts filling with bodies, dead legionnaires piling up and actually slowing the advance. NCR Rangers and the 1st Reconnaissance Battalion take up picked positions on the ridges and hills surrounding the dam. Chief Hanlon orders his snipers to specifically target Legion officers. Officers are going down one after another. The Legion is losing its chain of command. Panic starts spreading in the Legion's ranks. Casualty rate becomes unsustainable. The front rank legionnaires rout and crash back into the reserve lines. Chaos in the entire formation. Graham realizes his snipers are tearing him apart and orders his last reserve line of veteran legionnaires to push through the chaos and charge the first recon positions on the ridgeline. That completely destroys unit cohesion. The packed mass of legionnaires on the causeway collapses into confusion, younger soldiers running for the rear. The entire Legion formation is disintegrating. General Oliver senses the breakdown, orders his own troops to fall back on the dam side walkways. This creates a gap that lets the veteran legionnaires surge ahead toward the ridgeline. The veterans press forward eagerly and reach the ridgeline and find nothing. The Rangers and 1st Recon have already withdrawn west into the town of Boulder City. The veterans think the enemy is fleeing in panic. They give chase into Boulder City. They have no idea Hanlon has been planning this. As the veteran legionnaires, the best troops Graham has, pack into the streets of Boulder City in pursuit, they realize the Rangers have completely vanished from the town. Before they can process this, Hanlon springs a trap and detonates several tons of explosives packed into the buildings throughout Boulder City. Boulder City is reduced to rubble in seconds. The blast and flying concrete fragments wipe out most of the legionnaires in the town. The stunned, dazed survivors are in no state to fight back. Rangers and 1st Recon rush into the rubble and finish them off. Back on the dam, the Legion's formation has completely collapsed with the death of most of their officers. Leaderless, directionless legionnaires now face a sudden NCR counterattack. Oliver rallies his troops. They surge forward onto the causeway to drive back what's left of the Legion. Graham orders a retreat. The Legion marches back to Arizona to face Caesar's wrath. The NCR has held Hoover Dam, a massive victory against the odds, but they can't pursue. The defenders are exhausted, supplies dangerously low. Then, news arrives that makes it worse. The NCR's primary supply route in the Mojave through a region called the Divide on Interstate 15 has been catastrophically destroyed. A courier had been carrying a package with unknown contents through the Divide. The package accidentally detonated nuclear warheads hidden beneath the region. The whole area is obliterated. The supply route is gone. NCR forces in the Mojave have to consolidate and wait for the resupply. Graham returns to Caesar bearing news of defeat. Caesar is furious and public, brings Graham and the survivors of the Mojave army to the Grand Canyon, and forces the soldiers to watch as the Praetorian Guard covers the disgraced Malpais legate in pitch and sets him on fire, throws him over the cliff in the canyon below. But Joshua Graham survives miraculously. He crawls out of the canyon, burned nearly to death, and begins a long journey of survival. Legends start spreading among the Legion across the wasteland. The burned man is alive. Caesar can't allow this. It undermines the punishment message. He forbids his legionnaires from ever speaking Graham's true name under threat of death. The Mojave Mojave become a stalemate. Legion forces regroup on Fortification Hill east of the dam, slowly rebuilding their sheltered army over the following 4 years. Like Atlanteus replaces Graham in the Mojave, his brutal command methods ensuring Legion soldiers fear him more than they fear the NCR. The NCR reinforced Hoover Dam. General Oliver ensures more and more battalions get sent east. Everyone on both sides knows the Legion will try again. Both sides know the second battle for Hoover Dam is coming, and Mr. House watches from the Lucky 38, carefully monitoring both factions, making sure neither gets too strong, waiting for his moment to assert New Vegas' total independence from both of them. Just like that, that is the story of Fallout, all the way up until New Vegas. I know Fallout 4 is not in this, but fuck out of here. That's a whole nother video. Love you guys. Bye.